and beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself.
Shalom, children. Today we are going to be taking a deeper look at this week's Torah portion to see where it speaks of Yeshua HaMashiach. We are in the book of Vayikra. The parasha this week is called Shemini, which in Hebrew means 8th. Let's hear a summary of the parashat. On the 8th day, following 7 days of initiation, Aharon and his sons begin to officiate as Kohanim. A fire comes forth from Adonai to consume the offerings on the altar, and the Shekinah glory comes to dwell in the sanctuary. Aharon's 2 elder sons, Nadav and Avihu, offer a strange fire before Elohim, which he had not commanded them to do. As a result of their disobedience, they die before Adonai. Elohim gives the instructions for the food laws, identifying the animal species which are permissible and not permissible to eat. Land animals may only be eaten if they have split hooves and also chew their cud. Fish must have fins and scales. And out of the insect species, locusts may be eaten. A list of non-permissible birds is then given, such as the eagle, the vulture, and the raven. Included in the Torah portion Shemini are some of the laws of ritual purity, including the purifying power of the mikvah. The parasha concludes declaring that the instructions given to the children of Israel are for them to be able to make a distinction between the clean and the unclean. Yeshua said, "If you believed Moshe, you would believe me, because he wrote about me." So let's dig a bit deeper to see if we can find Yeshua in the scriptures. Have you ever built something using a kit which came with instructions? If we don't follow the steps shown on the diagrams, the end result will not be how the designer originally intended. In our parashat today, the step-by-step instructions were not followed, and a terrible incident occurred concerning 2 sons of Aharon. We read, "Then Nadab and Avihu, the sons of Aharon, each took his censer and put fire into it, put incense onto it, and offered profane fire before Adonai, which he had not commanded them. So fire went out from Adonai and devoured them, and they died before the Lord." The word profane in Hebrew is zur, which means stranger or a foreigner. Yahweh makes it very clear in his word we are not to worship him in a foreign way. We read in Psalms, "Hear, my people, there shall be no foreign god among you, nor shall you worship any foreign god." Elohim would tell Moshe when the people entered into the promised land and encountered the foreign people there, they were not to inquire after their gods, saying, "How did these nations serve their gods? I also will do likewise." He added, "You shall not worship Adonai your Elohim in that way. For every abomination to the Lord which he hates, they have done to their gods. You see, just like the step-by-step instructions of how to make a kit plain, Elohim has put in place step-by-step instructions of the right way to worship him. Aharon's sons discovered the consequences of worshipping Yahweh the way they wanted to. In the letter to the Hebrews we read, "Since we are receiving a kingdom which cannot be shaken, let us have grace by which we serve Yahweh acceptably, with reverence and godly fear. For our Elohim is a consuming fire." When Yeshua met the Samaritan woman at the well, he had told her, "The hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father is seeking such to worship him. Adonai is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." Children, we cannot serve Elohim in any which way we want to, even if we think it's a good idea. When scribes and Pharisees from Jerusalem came to Yeshua saying, "Why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they do not wash their hands when they eat bread." He had answered them saying, "Why do you transgress the commandment of Adonai because of your tradition?" No, we do not get to make up the rules. We need to walk in the way to honor Yahweh. Let's now explore the shadow pictures created for us by the number 8. Remembering, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter, but the glory of kings to search it out. We read in the parashah, "It came to pass on the 8th day that Moshe called Aharon and his sons and the elders of Israel. The men had been set apart for 7 days, learning the ways of Yah, and on the 8th day they could begin their ministry of service and worship." Number 8 in Hebrew thought can signify a fresh start. The 8th day marked the beginning of a new week, symbolizing renewal. Circumcision was performed on the 8th day, symbolizing a covenant between Elohim and his people. The number 8 is also linked to completion, perfection, and eternity everlasting. The number 8 appears in the scriptures many times. 8 people were saved by entering the ark when the flood waters came up. The covenant was spoken about with Abraham 8 times. Lepers were to be cleansed on the 8th day. And in the Brit Hadashah, we read an account by Yochanan. On the last day, the great day of the feast, that is the 8th day, Yeshua stood and cried out, "If anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. He who believes in me, as the scriptures have said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water." In the past, other nations sometimes had different number of days in a week. Once there was a 10-day week, and even a 5-day week. But we know from the book of Bereshit, Yahweh set in motion the 7-day week, which he demonstrated with 6 days of creation and 1 day of rest. The 8th day, which came after that Sabbath, was the first day of the next week. Shimon Kifar wrote, "Beloved, do not forget this one thing, that with Adonai, one day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. We could say, therefore, there are 6,000 years of man working on earth, then 1,000 years of rest, with Yeshua reigning as king on the earth. Then, on the 8th day, Elohim will bring us to dwell with him eternally, causing all things to be made new." We can see this shadow picture in the book of Vayikra. 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire to Adonai. On the 8th day you shall have a set-apart gathering, and you shall offer an offering made of fire to Adonai. It is a sacred assembly, and you shall do no customary work on it. But what does that new beginning look like? We read in the final book of our Bibles, "I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Elohim is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. Yahweh himself will be with them, and will be their Elohim. Yahweh will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away." What a wonderful time that will be for those who walk in the way and worship Elohim in spirit and in truth. Well, children, that is the end of our study for today. So we will see you next time when we search the scriptures together. Shalom.
Behold, he is coming with clouds, he is coming. Behold, he is coming to judge the earth. Behold, he is coming with power, he's coming. The whole